The Rust programming language is catching developer attention for being consistently voted the most loved programming language in Stack Overflow's developer survey. AWS released an official Rust SDK in 2021, further cementing its place in developer toolkits. Alexander Filichkin's popular blog post where he benchmarks various languages running on AWS Lambda clearly shows Rust as the best performer, especially in cold start scenarios. Rust-based Lambda cold starts are so fast that it may even make going serverless an option where it otherwise wouldn't have been. In this video, we're going to walk through a lightning-fast tutorial on creating a Rust-based Lambda function that utilizes the AWS SDK to write records to a DynamoDB table. No prior Rust experience is necessary. We'll explain what's going on with every line of code. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a Rust Lambda that takes a first and a last name as input, and we're going to write a new item to a DynamoDB users table with that new first and last name. And again, we're doing this 100% in Rust. The first thing we're going to need to do is create the package. And in the Rust ecosystem, there's something called cargo, which is kind of the equivalent of NPM or Gradle if you're from the Java ecosystem. We're going to tell cargo that we want to create a new project, and it's going to set up the directory structure for us. So we're just going to do cargo new, and we're going to call it Rust on AWS. And we're going to say this is going to be a binary file that's going to be the output as opposed to a library. Run that. So now we'll open that new project in our IDE. So the first thing we're going to do is add dependencies in the TOML file. And the TOML file, if you're coming from a JavaScript ecosystem, is the equivalent of package.json. Or if you're coming from a Java ecosystem, it's the equivalent of build.gradle or pom.xml. So the first dependencies we're going to add are the AWS Rust SDK. And so the first one is the config package. And this is what's going to help us set up our region and our credentials and that sort of thing. And the second one is going to be the DynamoDB part of the SDK. The third dependency we're going to add is called Tokyo, which is a popular library for asynchronous programming. Now, if you're not familiar with Rust, don't worry about these features and versions and whatnot. It's not important for this specific example. The next dependency we're going to add is called Lambda_runtime. And this is a crate that's maintained by AWS. Because AWS Lambda doesn't yet support Rust as a provided runtime, we're actually going to have to use a custom runtime when we set up our Lambda function. This crate actually makes it very simple to tell Lambda how to run our handler function. When you use a custom runtime, you actually have to tell Lambda how to run your handler function, and this library actually makes it very, very simple. You can do it in a few lines of code. The next set of dependencies we're going to add is a library called Serde, which is a crate that helps you serialize and deserialize things if you're from a Java ecosystem, kind of like Jackson. Now we're going to add a couple crates related to logging. The last dependency we're going to add is UUID, which is a crate for generating UUIDs, which we're going to use as a partition key when we insert our items into our Dynamo table. Okay, that should be it for the dependencies that we need. Okay, now let's jump into the main.rs file, which is created by Cargo when we actually create the project. So the first thing we're going to do is add our use clauses, which are, if you're coming from a JavaScript or Java ecosystem, these are equivalent to import statements. The first one we're going to add is region provider chain, which is going to help us get the currently configured AWS region. The second and third one we're going to add are related to DynamoDB. So this is the DynamoDB part of the AWS SDK. The next one's going to be the Lambda runtime I mentioned. That's going to help us tell Lambda how to call our handler function. The next two are going to be the Serde library for deserialization. And the last one's going to be the UUID crate for generating a random UUID. Okay, now we're ready to work on our main function. We're going to put a Tokyo directive on top of this main function. I won't get into the details of what that does right now, but it's something that's expected by Lambda. It allows us to make our main function asynchronous. We're going to have our main function return a result, which is going to allow it to report any errors that happen. The idiomatic way to handle errors in Rust is, instead of exceptions, we have the concept of errors. So if something goes wrong in a function, the idiomatic way to handle that is to return an error result. We're going to use the handler fn function of the Lambda runtime library. We're going to pass it our handler function. It's going to give us an object, and then we're going to pass that object to the Lambda runtime run function. That's only 2 lines of code, but that's going to tell Lambda how to run our handler function. And this is all only necessary because Rust is not supported as a provided runtime currently. When it is finally supported, my guess is that we just won't have to write this main function anymore, and we can just have our handler function in this file. This .await at the end of the line here is actually just telling this function to block until the results come back. And the question mark at the end is just saying, if there's an error here, propagate that error to the caller of this function. So whoever called the main function, we're going to hot potato that error up to the caller of the main function, kind of like an exception would propagate. I mentioned if a function has an error, it's expected to return an error result. Otherwise, we're expected to return OK, and the OK object tells the caller that things were successful. Don't worry too much about what's going on in the main function. Once Lambda provides a runtime for Rust, we won't need any of this main function. We're just going to have our handler in here, so don't worry too much about this code. The next thing we're going to do is set up our custom event object, which is what the input of the Lambda is going to be deserialized into. So our first and last name fields that we mentioned. We just made a struct that has 2 fields. We added a macro on top of it called derive, and we passed that the deserialize object, which is part of the serde library. And basically what that's saying is it's telling the compiler, let serde implement the deserialization logic for this struct. That's going to make it so our handler can take this custom event object as an argument. Now we're going to make our handler function. It's going to take our custom event object as the first parameter, and it's going to take a context object, which we won't use in this example. But this is pretty similar to writing a handler function in other languages. The first thing we're going to do is create a random UUID that we're going to use as a partition key for our newly added item in our Dynamo table. Then we're going to get a region provider object, which is going to get the region that's currently configured on the machine. Then we're going to create an AWS config object that's going to manage our credentials and everything, and we're going to pass the region provider object to that. Now we're going to create a DynamoDB client object. Now that we have our DynamoDB client object, we can write to the database now. So we'll first create the request. We'll call put item, and then we need to specify a table name and the attributes that this item will have. This table is going to be called users. We're just going to hard code the name in there for now. And then we're going to specify all the different attributes. There's 3 attributes. There's going to be a user ID, which is just a random UUID, and then a first name and a last name, like we said. So each item is going to take a key and a value, and the value needs to be wrapped in the special attribute value Dynamo object. Okay, and that's it for our request. So now we just need to call the send function on the request, and that's what's actually going to make the request. And again, there's an await with a question mark here, which tells the program to block on this operation until it finishes, and then if there's an error, propagate it up the stack. And if we made it here, if either of these awaits failed, the function would automatically return an error, similar to throwing an exception. But if we made it this far, we're going to return an OK object with the JSON response, which is just going to be a hard-coded message saying that the operation succeeded. Okay, and that's about it for our handler function. The next thing we're going to do is actually build this for Lambda. And this is a little bit tricky because with Rust, you can't just compile once and run anywhere like you can with Java, JavaScript, or Python. We actually compile to machine code, and that means we have to know where this is going to be deployed. In our case, we're going to make an ARM-based Lambda, which is going to be running on Amazon Linux 2. We need to somehow cross-compile this for an ARM-based architecture running on Amazon Linux 2. And the way we do this is actually with Docker. So we're going to write some helper functions in a shell script that are going to help us compile this and zip it into a zip file that we can then go upload in the Lambda console. Now, if you were doing this in production, you'd probably be using CDK. We're omitting CDK just for simplicity's sake in this example. If you're using CDK, CDK would actually do most of this for you. We're going to write a quick shell script that we can source from our terminal. If you want, you can put this stuff into your RC file, bashrc or zshrc, if you want this to run anytime you open a new terminal automatically. So the first thing we're going to do is set up some variables. We're going to tell it the operating system and CPU architecture that we're going to cross-compile to. We're going to tell it the Rust version we want, which for now we'll just say latest, and then give it a project name. Okay, and we're going to make 2 functions, one that's actually going to do the cross-compilation using Docker. By the way, you do need Docker to be installed to do this. Pretty simple on a Mac, homebrew install Docker. The first function is going to be called AL2 build. AL2 is Amazon Linux 2. We're running a Docker image, and we're going to give it a command to run, which is a cargo build command. And that's it for the AL2 build function. So when we run this, it's actually going to run a Rust Docker image, and it's going to execute this cargo build command on that Docker image. And this cargo build command on this Docker image is actually going to wind up placing the resulting binaries in the target directory on our local system, which is nice because then we can just zip it up from there. And so our second function is called zip Rust Lambda, and it's going to do just that. It's going to zip up the binary generated by this AL2 build function and package it up so we can upload it to Lambda. All right, so a little bit to unpack here. So we're copying the binary that was generated by our Docker build into the current directory, and we're calling it Bootstrap. So Lambda actually expects the executable for a custom runtime to be Bootstrap. So we're renaming the executable Bootstrap, and then we're sticking it into a zip file. And then we're cleaning up the original file. So that's what this is doing. And I think now we're ready to actually build and upload. Let's try that. So we're going to source that shell script that we just wrote, and then we're going to do AL2 build. See if that works. Okay, now we're going to run our zip Rust Lambda function to create the zip file. Okay, let's upload that zip file to Lambda now. I've already created a Lambda function when I was testing earlier, so I'm just going to reuse that. One thing to note is that you'll have to add DynamoDB permissions to the execution role of the Lambda. So I'm just going to upload that zip file, overwriting the existing one. I also created the DynamoDB table already. It's just called users. And we're going to create a new event called Steve Jobs. This is the JSON object that'll be deserialized by Sturdy into our CustomEvent Struct. Okay, cool. So it looks like our Lambda succeeded. And let's look at the Dynamo table to verify that the new item is there. Yep, Steve Jobs right here. Cool. All right, so our Rust Lambda worked. So that's a lightning fast tutorial on creating a Rust Lambda and using the Rust AWS SDK. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.